And our top focus on WION at this hour. The race to pick the next Republican presidential candidate has kicked off. 8 rivals have taken the center stage for a face-off in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, these candidates have met the polling and the donor requirements for a spot on the debate stage. However, former U.S. President Donald Trump, who is the front-runner in the elections, is not a part of this list. Trump had earlier announced that he will not participate in the debate. He says that the public already knows who he is and also about his successful presidency. Given his dominant lead in the race, he says his presence is not required in the debate. However, Trump is still expected to remain in the spotlight. The multiple indictments he faces is set to be among the questions to his rivals. As the debate is happening, Trump's interview with former Fox News host Tucker Carlson is now streaming on platform X, formerly known as Twitter. And not to forget, Trump is expected to surrender on Thursday to face charges in Georgia elections, subversion case that is just a day after this debate. But that does not mean that the 8 candidates are not to be benefited with this debate at all. Well, polls suggest that the voters want the other candidates to use this debate to make a case for themselves. The debate can boost support for candidates and can also give them a chance to introduce themselves to the wider public. The candidates are expected to be asked about a range of topics, from crime to immigration to LGBTQ+ rights. The abortion rights is also likely to come up. Even foreign policy questions and stance on China, Ukraine and Russia are also likely to be discussed. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tharani is joining us live from New York. Hi, Susan, a very good morning to you. The Republican debate has unfolded without Trump, but it looks like his impact continues to resonate both on and off the debate stage.
Yeah, absolutely. That is true. We are about 30 minutes into the debate right now with the 8 candidates. And for now, at least, just to show you how important the economy is and is on everyone's mind, the debate really started with a question on the economy. And each of the candidates on stage, starting with Ron DeSantis, really hammered in on Joe Biden's failed economic policies during the past 3.5 years or so. We had Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey basically talking about great spending in Washington, and again, went after, basically defended his role in trying to bring down debt in the state of New Jersey. We know he was governor of New Jersey. He didn't mention Joe Biden, perhaps the only candidate on stage. We did hear from Senator Tim Scott, and then, Vivek Ramaswamy, really a very colorful candidate. He really talked about why he should be chosen. He talked a lot about, he didn't start with the economy, but about family values and why it's important to elect an outsider. He did receive a lot of applause. And then, Nikki Haley, she was interesting. She really took a risk. She went after her own party. She said what everyone isn't talking about is the Republicans and how they've contributed to the massive spending in Washington as well. So that's interesting. We'll have to see how that's received. And of course, Mike Pence tried to defend his role as vice president during the Trump administration. Right now, they're at the stage of talking about climate change. And for now, the knives have been out against one another on stage, with Chris Christie at one point saying that he's sick and tired of hearing from Vivek Ramaswamy, someone that sounds like ChatGPT. So, that got a lot of boos, considering the fact that Vivek is pretty popular in that room at this point. And, stuff like that. Nikki Haley comparing herself to Margaret Thatcher and whatnot. So far, we haven't heard anything about Donald Trump, but as you mentioned, he is going to definitely come up in this debate on the one hand. And then let's not forget, tomorrow he's expected to turn himself in for processing at that Fulton County, Georgia jailhouse. And with that news, the post-debate headlines is really going to change to Donald Trump. Yeah.
Right, Susan, you've clearly given a brief of what all the candidates are talking about and their stance in the Republican debate. Now, it features 8 candidates like we've been talking about. Talk to us about the challenges of assembling a diverse and competitive lineup like the current one.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be challenging to see how each of these candidates are going to present themselves as an alternative to a frontrunner like Donald Trump, who's leading massively in the polls. On the one hand, they have to say, why pick me? Why would you move away from Donald Trump when we have basically the same policies that Donald Trump, which are popular among Republican voters? One candidate really have to stand out, and they have to come out and ultimately say, listen, I have the same policies as Donald Trump. I'm not going to criticize him completely, but I don't have the indictments and the baggage that come with it. And how voters will respond to that is going to be very telling. So we'll have to wait and see.
The last question to you, Susan. How critical is the debate for some candidates who are tracking lower in the polls?
Yeah, this is a break or make moment for a lot of candidates, notably Ron DeSantis, who's despite the fact that he's in second place, he's still polling significantly lower than the former president. So the gap is very wide. And then, this is an opportunity without Donald Trump in the room for lesser known candidates like Governor Burgum, Asa Hutchinson, and others to try to shine, to try to show themselves on what they are in front of a live audience on the one hand. And again, policy, policy, policy. Voters want to hear that. We do know in a latest poll that 60% of Republicans, even those that back Donald Trump right now, are open to another candidate. So this is an opportunity for them. But I think all eyes are really on Governor Ron DeSantis to see how he's going to perform as the second place, because Donald Trump has been criticizing him so much.
Absolutely, Susan. We'll, of course, be tracking this very closely here on WION, but thanks very much for joining us right now.